Kadir, so awesome to see you again. Agent Hansen said as we sat for lunch. And you trimmed your beard and stache and cut your hair. Agent Laurier Kent said. You look terrible, Agent McKenna said, laughing. Did you use a lawnmower? Hey, don't say that about him. Dr. Abbas said. Don't listen to them, Kadir, you look wonderful. Kadir rubbed the back of his head, chuckling as his cheeks turned red. It's okay, I know it looks bad. My hair was too matted to brush, so I chopped it off. Is that why you only wanted to voice chat today? I teased, sitting down with my tray. Kind of. I was only halfway done. How's your head? I smiled and tapped the small bandage. Just 2 stitches. I'm fine. He rubbed the back of his head again. That's good. You bled a lot. I was afraid it was something worse. Wait. Agent Hansen leaned closer to the screen. Is that Linda's bracelet around your wrist? Yes. He jiggled it in front of his camera. She gave it to me as proof she's real. I still can't believe you found my card and just decided to explore random elevators instead of turning it in, Agent Silva said to me, amused. I know, I'm sorry, I said, shooting a resigned look at Kadir. I didn't know his quarters were easily accessible. What you did was completely thoughtless and dangerous, Dr. Abbas said with a harsh glare. I'm surprised Agent Rodriguez hasn't disciplined you for your audacious disregard for rules and safety. She did, I said, poking at my salad with irritation. I learned my lesson. This isn't your house or your little vet clinic. This is a serious organization with serious consequences if rules are broken. Geez, Abbas, take it easy. She gets it, Agent Laurier Kent said. And everything turned out to our advantage, Kadir said. It was wrong but I'm glad it happened. It would have happened anyway, Dr. Abbas said, turning to him. Just with time and patience. There are procedures we shouldn't skip. For all our sakes. Imagine if you'd killed her. You'd be devastated. He winced, and I said, but he didn't. So let's not make up scenarios that won't happen. I turned to Kadir. Hey, Q, guess what? This morning, 10 drainers touched me with all their effort and I didn't even yawn. We're certain I can touch you without any effect. So, even though I didn't finish my assessments, I have the green light to visit you. Dr. Abbas scowled at me, but Agent Laurier Kent gave me a teasing wink as he said, show off. That's amazing. Kadir said before his smile wavered. But maybe we should take it slow. You should definitely take it slow, Dr. Abbas said before she shot me a stony look. Don't push him too far too fast, Linda. It's not healthy. I understand, I said. But I would like you to visit again, Kadir said. Maybe after I finish cleaning up. I can help you clean up, I said. I have a lot of tips and tricks for better organization. He smiled. I'd like that. Man, it's so awesome to see you smiling, Agent Hansen said, tearing up. It's been years since that smile. And then you go missing in action on us. We've been so worried about you. I'm sorry. I was going through a tough time. I could have helped you, Dr. Abbas said. I thought we were making good progress before you blocked me. I blocked everyone. It became difficult to explain how I'm feeling to people who know there's no solution. He smiled at me. But when LB showed up, and after I got over the shock, it sank in. There might be hope. I feel I can breathe again. Agent Hansen wiped a tear. Damn you, Kadir, messing up my mascara. A buzz sounded behind Kadir, and he turned around. That's my washing machine. I've got to move my towels to the dryer. I'll catch up with you all tomorrow. And LB, see you soon. I'll be right up after lunch, I said. The moment Qadir flickered off the screen, Dr. Abbas stood up and grabbed her tray, her coffee tipping over and spilling on my lap. I gasped and jumped up, grateful it wasn't too hot as I grabbed napkins to dab my skirt. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Linda," she said, reaching over to help. "I'm so clumsy sometimes." "It's okay, I'm fine. No harm done." As Dr. Abbas and I cleaned up the mess, the others at the table whispered to each other. After another quick apology, Dr. Abbas left, and I sat down again to finish my meal. I'd barely taken a bite before Agent McKenna nudged me. "Abbas is jealous of you." I turned to her with a frown. "Jealous of me?" "Yup." Agent Silva chuckled as he popped a potato chip in his mouth. "She's been Qadir's therapist for almost a decade. Knows him better than any of us. And she has this deep desire to save him. She loves him," Agent Hansen added. Agent McKenna nodded. "And now you come along, one day in, and he's already calling you LB. I don't understand," I said. "What's wrong with him calling me by my initials?" Agent Laurier Kent laughed as he leaned back in his seat. "Oh, sweet summer child, he's not saying your initials." "Then what is he saying?" "Why don't we let our resident linguist explain," he said, turning to Agent McKenna. "In his Arabic dialect, he's saying Albi, which means my heart," she said, batting her eyelashes with exaggeration. "And Dr. Abbas speaks the same dialect, so." "Wow." I shook my head with an amused chuckle. "You guys are really reaching. He's saying my initials, just like I call him Q. Nothing deeper than that. We barely know each other. And I'm glad Dr. Abbas loves him and wants to help him. I'm glad you all do. But you're the only one who can give him direct comfort," Agent Silva said. "So, you can imagine how Abbas feels. And she knows his attraction to you isn't because of your personality or your looks or anything you worked hard on. It's because you were born with a shield." Agent McKenna chuckled. "You could be Gollum and he'd still see you as his amazing beacon of hope." "I'm not here to step on toes," I said. "If she loves him, then she should be happy he's finally not alone. And hopefully, if experiments with my blood are successful, she'll be able to meet him in person and they can develop their relationship." Agent McKenna snorted. "She loves him, but I don't think he loves her back." "Why would you say that?" "I know I shouldn't have, but I overheard one of their sessions. She's trying to get him to rely on her, and only her. I think she's suffocating him." She threw her hands up. "But hey, she's the psychiatrist, so what do I know?" Hansen, McKenna, Silva, Laurier Kent, still on your lunch break?" Dr. Duran asked, peeking into the cafeteria. "We've got a meeting in 5. After we gobbled up the rest of our meals, everyone went to the meeting and I texted Qadir to let him know I was coming up. He greeted me at the elevator doors, his bright smile luring mine. "Welcome back," he said, his eyes looking me up and down with eager cheer. "It's great to be back. And you've got an interesting new look. Turn around, give me a 360. He rotated, and I stifled a laugh at the messy job he'd done. "It's definitely a unique style." He turned back to me with a shy smile. "Yeah, I know. I never got the hang of cutting my hair. I've always kept it long. Maybe one day, when you're comfortable, I can cut it for you. I used to cut my son's hair all the time. I'd like that." I looked around the living room. "You've tidied up quite a bit since yesterday." I tried. "I haven't cleaned since, maybe a year." He blushed. "I'm sorry. Never apologize for struggling with depression. I admire how far you've come despite the cards you've been dealt." "Really?" "Yes. You're incredibly strong, even in your weakest moments." And now you're rising up and working on paving a new path. I'm here for you when you need me, but every step is yours, so be proud of them. You should be a therapist, he said, drying his teary eyes with a chuckle. I was almost going to be, but my love for animals won out, I said, chuckling along. The washing machine buzzed again. That's the 5th load today, Cotier said, looking over his shoulder. How about I do the laundry, and you clean your bedroom? We probably won't finish everything today, so it's important that the place where you'll rest your head is clean and conducive to healthy thoughts and sleep. Oh. That makes sense. My room is this way. I followed him, and I gasped and stepped back before I put my hand to my heart with a laugh. Oh my God, she scared me. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention her. He smiled and gestured to the life-size doll sitting on his couch. LB, meet Polymer. Polymer? I asked, an eyebrow raised in amusement. He chuckled. They sent me the first one when I was 15. There were many words on the box I didn't understand. I thought her name was Polymer. They send me a new one every year. I kept the same name for all of them. I think it's funny. It is pretty funny. When I started taking antidepressants 12 years ago, I lost my sex drive. I didn't want any more dolls. They were cold. Empty. They made me feel more alone. He sat next to Polymer. But this new one, I like her. He reached behind her and pulled out a wire, plugging her in. Come. Feel her skin. It gets warm. And put your hand on her chest. She has a heartbeat. Oh, wow, I whispered, feeling her pulse thud against my hand. That's amazing. And her skin is very realistic. Really? That's good. I don't remember what real skin feels like. I hug her at night and I sleep on her lap when we watch movies. I smiled. I'm glad she's with you. I'm more glad you're with me. I'm glad too. I stood up before things became too emotional. Now let's get your bedroom tidied up. As we worked on collecting his clothes and sheets, I asked, so, do you work? Yes. I'm the web developer here. I've been browsing the Covescope website, it's really good. That's all you? Yes, he said with a proud smile. I'm also studying law. Or, I was, before my depression got worse. Wow. So you want to be a lawyer? I do, but I don't think I can. I don't have enough social experience. And I can't meet anyone in person. One day, when a solution is found, you can. He remained silent for a while as we stripped his pillows, but then he said, it will be strange. Not being afraid of killing anyone. My gift has been with me most of my life. You'll get used to it. Just like you found a way to get used to your gift. He nodded in thought. I sometimes say things to myself. Like, my gift is good for one thing. It kills insects and fungus. Or else my place would be in worse shape. I chuckled. That's a very bright silver lining. I love that you see it. He smiled as he shook crumbs off a pillow. Another silver lining. It doesn't kill bacteria. Or my intestines would be in very bad shape. This time, I laughed. That's definitely a silver lining. For me too. I doubt my intestinal flora has my gift. I'd have to guzzle probiotics after every visit. A third silver lining. If you have any fungal infections, you're cured. I wish I could bring my son's cat up here. Wookie has a fungal ear infection that refuses to completely go away. I've been treating it for months now. Wookie. Like Chewbacca from Star Wars. Yes, I said with a soft smile. Cody loved Star Wars. I love it too. Look. I walked closer as he turned to a shelf to grab an action figure, and we both gasped when he turned back around and bumped into me. The action figure fell to the floor as Kadir plastered himself against the wall, flashes of trauma flitting behind his eyes as his breaths accelerated. I took a few steps backwards, my hands up in a calming motion as he began to tremble. Kadir? It's okay. Breathe. I'm fine. You're fine. We're fine. He took a few more jagged breaths before he looked at his bare forearm. I touched you. You did. And nothing happened. See? We're fine. He rubbed his arm, his voice cracking as he repeated, I touched you. His hopeful tone drew my tears. You did. He looked at me, and the yearning in his eyes led me to take a step towards him. He didn't draw back, so I extended a hand, my pulse drumming with emotion. His fingers twitched as he stared at it, his heart-breaking expression rich with desire. It's okay, you can't hurt me, I whispered, believing it with every essence of my being. I know my gift is strong enough. I know I'm safe with you. With short, hesitant steps, he shuffled closer, his gaze glued to my hand. When he was within reach, he gulped and held his breath, and so did I as he reached out. His quivering finger touched mine, and his flood of emotions drowned me as he stared at our connection. I remained silent, my chin trembling as I tried not to cry. He moved closer, caressing my hand as though it were a delicate antique, his poignant eyes watching in jubilant disbelief. After a second of hesitation, he pressed my palm to his cheek, tears streaming down his face as he closed his eyes. I couldn't stop myself from crying any longer as I stepped closer and gently touched his other cheek. With a stuttering breath, he grabbed that hand and pressed it to his face as well. A hoarse sob escaped his mouth and his legs buckled, and I fell to my knees beside him, my hands still in his grip. His body shuddered with every sob, and I cradled his face tight, weeping right along with him as joy and sorrow toyed with my heart. When his sobs ebbed, he leaned over, and I watched in sympathetic surprise as he laid his head on my lap and curled up in the fetal position. Hugging himself with one arm, his other hand still held mine, pressing it to his body. With my thoughts battling infinite emotions, I ran my fingers through his hair, and he took a deep, quivering breath, his sniffles soon stopping as he drifted off to sleep. I didn't move, my cheeks still tear-stained as I watched him breathe. I couldn't imagine what this moment meant for him. Over 2 decades of physical isolation, over. I looked at Polymer, our silent witness. She did the best she could do, and I was grateful technology has come this far. My gaze traveled to the Star Wars action figure on the floor. The one who made this moment possible. Darth Maul. Cody's favorite character. My phone rang, and I cringed and quickly answered it with a whisper. Hello. Hey, why are you whispering? Agent Hansen asked. Kadir is sleeping on my lap. What? You touched? You touched? She cheered. That's amazing. I smiled, sniffling. It is. I'm guessing there are no cameras in his bedroom. No, for his privacy. I'm so happy for him. And for you. Wait until I tell everyone. Did you want me for something? I just wanted to tell you your paperwork is ready to be signed. But you can do that anytime. All right, thank you. I'm so happy. I'm going to tell everyone. Bye. She hung up, and I chuckled to myself. Covescope had the most animated collection of people. I played games on my phone as I waited for Kadir to wake up. When he did, I could feel him tense up before he jerked upright. Panic and confusion spun behind his eyes before his memories fell into place, and his breaths regulated as he looked at my hand still in his. Hey, I said with a soft smile. How do you feel? He smiled back, his eyes glistening. Whole. Are you okay? Yes, don't worry. I'm perfectly fine. The last time anyone touched me, was when my mom kissed me goodnight the night before I killed everyone. I squeezed his hand. I'm sorry that happened, but you shouldn't say you killed them. Your gift did, without your control. It wasn't your fault. He looked down. I know. But I still feel guilty. I know the feeling, I said, my voice cracking. I'm so glad you're here. I am too. Hoping to avoid another crying fest, I reached for his hair. How about I fix this for you? I'd like that. Hey! I yelled. What are you doing in my room? Leave my son's cat alone. Dr. Abbas turned to me in surprise and dropped Wookie, too shocked to stop me as I grabbed her by the shirt and slammed her against the wall. Why are you here? I said, trying to control my rage as I watched Wookie hide under my bed. Why were you holding my son's cat? Whoa, what's going on here? Agent Laurier Kent asked, peeking into the room. You think being a nuller gives you the right to manipulate Qadir? Dr. Abbas spat, trying to push me away. Okay, ladies, break it up, Agent Laurier Kent said, separating us. She's manipulating Qadir. Dr. Abbas yelled. She's using his desperation to her advantage. What are you talking about? I asked, shaking off Agent Laurier Kent's hand as I backed off. Agent Hansen told us what you told her. You made him sleep with you. What? He didn't sleep with me, he slept on my lap. Liar. She said, though her tearful eyes showed doubt. Abbas, Hansen said Linda told her he slept on her lap, Agent Laurier Kent said. You misheard. Dr. Abbas irritably wiped away a tear, her face blotchy with repressed emotion. I could imagine what she was going through, and although I was sympathetic, what she did wasn't excusable. Listen, I said. I'm the only one who can physically interact with Qadir right now. If you love him, then you'll understand how much this means to him. She looked down, sniffling as she wiped away another tear. I know you want him to be happy, I continued. We all do. And each one of us is doing our part. So we should be boosting each other, not tearing each other down. Don't you agree? She sniffled again. It hurts, seeing him so happy, but not because of me. Especially when I've tried so hard. I know that's selfish, but it still hurts. I know, I've been there, Agent Laurier Kent said, putting a hand on her shoulder. But if you love someone, you want what's best for them. Even if it's not you. Or entirely you, I said. He still needs you. He needs all of us. He needs to see us supportive and enthusiastic. And one day, when the experiments with my blood are successful, you'll be able to meet him face to face too. She looked up at me, angst and hope swirling behind her hazel eyes. You're right. I'm sorry. She took a deep breath and dried her eyes. When I heard Agent Hansen, my thoughts went wild. All I want is to protect Qadir. And I can't even read your mind to know your intentions. Dr. Abbas, trust me, I'll never hurt him or take advantage of him. But if you ever feel like my behavior is wrong, talk to me or bring it up with Agent Rodriguez. Never touch my son's cat again. She nodded. I'm sorry. I wasn't going to do anything to it. I just wasn't thinking. Hey, Abbas, there you are, Agent Hansen said, skidding to a halt in the hallway. We found, what's going on? Nothing, just a misunderstanding, I said. You found what? Agent Laurier Kent asked. We found Bren. Agent Hansen said. That's great. I said, relieved. Is he okay? We don't know yet. I'd like to come with you. She thought for a second. In any other scenario, I'd say definitely. But I don't think it's safe for you to leave Copescope yet. What's the hold-up? Agent Silva asked, peeking in. Linda wants to join the party. A nuller the target is familiar with? No question. She's in. We'll keep her safe. He walked away. Now let's get a move on. Agent Hansen shrugged and turned to me. I guess you're joining. You can shotgun with a Bess. Let's go. Not 5 minutes later, I was riding alongside Dr. Abbas as she drove behind Agent Hansen, Agent Silva, and Detective Cho. Even though we talked it out, some tension remained between us, so I turned on the radio. A classic came on and I sang along, and I smiled when she joined in. I hear that song every day, she said. It's always stuck in at least one person's head. I still can't believe there are no rules for the gifted to not use their abilities on the sly. Well, there are. We're not allowed to. She gave me an impish smile. But there's no way to enforce that rule. Then I'm glad I'm a nuller. She chuckled. Well, even if you weren't, as a gifted person, you'd have a shielding device. She pointed to her ear. So, at least readers and persuaders can't affect you. We followed Agents Hansen and Silva's car as it turned through the gates of an abandoned complex, and we parked beside Detective Cho's SUV. After we got out, we grouped together, and Detective Cho looked at me in confusion. "Why's Linda here?" he asked. "Because I think it'd be a good idea to send her in first," Agent Silva said. 1. She's a nuller. 2. Bren knows her. And I'm ready, I said. "No," Detective Cho said, pulling out his weapon. "He has a gun and a shielding device. It's too dangerous. What's your plan?" "I go in with Silva so he can counter Bren's gift and Hansen so she can make him drop his weapon. Once he's disarmed, I'll escort him to the car and Abbas can talk to him." "I think you're doing things backwards. He just escaped a terrible place. He's scared. Ambushing him with 3 people will only scare him more. We should talk to him first. If we send Abbas in instead of me, we'll still have to send Silva and Hansen for safety. And I'd rather not be in proximity to a gun, even if Hansen is there," Dr. Abbas said, rubbing her shoulder with a wince. "I've been shot before." "Then send me," I said. "Alone? I've met a killer, a boiler won't hurt me." "No. You're a vet, not an agent." "She won't be alone," Agent Hansen said. "Silva and I can be in the hall, and Linda can send us a signal if Bren is about to get violent." She turned to me. "Say cranberry and I'll make him freeze in place." "I can do that." Detective Cho let out an agitated sigh. "Fine. Linda, are you sure you're up for the task?" I nodded. "More than up for it." With a deep breath, I entered the dusty complex, trying to muffle my coughs as we made our way to the room with a flickering light. With a nod to Agent Hansen and Silva, I left them in the hall and peeked inside, and my heart twisted when I saw Bren shivering as he curled up beside a small candle. "Bren!" He gasped and sat up, his hands scrambling through loose newspapers until they found his gun. "Stay away," he croaked, backing himself into a corner. "Bren, hun, it's me. Dr. B." I smiled and walked in, my anxious heart racing, my arms raised. "Do you remember me?" Shaking, he lowered his gun as he squinted through the disturbed dust flying around. "The vet lady?" "Yes. I'm here to help you. No one can help me. Leave me alone." "We can." His gun targeted my head again. "Who's we? Who else is here?" I raised my hands higher, my pulse accelerating. "When we met the first time, you were afraid you were going to hurt me. But you couldn't." The detective who knocked on the door, he couldn't read my mind. He works with Covescope, and they helped me discover I'm a nuller. "A what?" "My gift protects me from other gifts. Like yours." "I don't have a gift. I have a curse." "I understand. And that's why we want to help you. Covescope took me in, and they're using my blood to find a solution for people like you. Come with me, we can." No. They'll experiment on me. They're all the same. They won't do anything to you without your permission. They might ask to draw blood or run tests to assess you, but you'll have your own room and you'll meet agents who can help you understand and control your gift. You're a boiler. There are many there like you. You can learn from the best. His lips trembled. I don't know if you're lying. I'm not. I live there, and it's a very pleasant place to learn about myself. Everyone is supportive and experienced. Look at how we've approached you. With respect. We want you to choose to join us. What if I say no? Is that what you want? He looked at his makeshift bed in silent distress. Bren. I don't want to keep running, but I don't want to get hurt. And I don't want to hurt people. His tears carved through the grime on his cheeks. I don't want to be scared anymore. Oh, hun, you'll be safe with us, I said, my voice hitching. And once you learn how to control your gift, you're free to do whatever you want, and Copescope will support you. I'm tired, he whispered before he slumped to the ground and began to cry. I'm tired of all this. My heart broke and I walked closer. I know, hun. I know. We all think you're exceptionally brave to have escaped, and exceptionally selfless to make sure you're far from those you might hurt. But you don't need to fight this battle on your own anymore. I knelt beside him and placed a hand on his trembling shoulder. Bren, would you like to come with us? He nodded, still crying, and I couldn't help but reach over to hug him, ignoring his pungent smell. He cringed, but as I went to let go, he dropped his gun and hugged me back. Tears trickled down face as I closed my eyes and pressed him close. One less child left to suffer alone. Are you going to sedate me? He asked, muffled as he remained in my hug. No, hun. There are Copescope people outside that will help escort you. Detective Cho will make sure we get there safely. Agent Hansen is the lead in bringing in gifted people, Dr. Abbas is a psychiatrist, and Agent Silva is a freezer. His gift is the opposite of yours and can cancel it out if it gets out of control. He sniffled but remained silent. Are you ready to meet them? He nodded. Can I live with you? Of course, I whispered through my tears. You know what, Dr. Abbas said as we drove behind Detective Cho's SUV. The way you dealt with Bren, I think you'd make a great agent. You should consider it. I smiled. I honestly would love to, but I don't know if I can juggle that as well as being a vet. We already have animal supervisors at Copescope. I know, but I disapprove of the use of animals for testing. Would you prefer humans? Consenting humans, yes. No one will consent to being a test subject for untrained gifted people. Then why torture animals with the same thing? Because that's what they're for. Some animals are for eating, some are for labor, and some are for tests. She rolled her eyes. But who am I arguing with? The resident vegan. I'm just saying we can find another way. Her expression hardened, and I crashed against the door with a gasp when she took a hard left and zoomed down a side road. Dr. Abbas, where are you going? I asked in shock, turning back to see Detective Cho's SUV screech to a halt. She didn't reply as she floored it, her steely gaze focused on the road. Dr. Abbas. I yelled, my pulse spiking. You're going too fast. She remained silent, her jaw clenched, and panic rustled in my chest as I looked back again. Detective Cho was following us, but his SUV was no match for Dr. Abbas's sports car. I cried out as she took another sharp turn. She was trying to lose him, but I didn't know why. Dr. Abbas. You could hurt someone. I yelled, gripping the door handle as I prayed no cars or people would get in our way. Slow down. What's wrong? I turned to her again, and fear stabbed my heart when I saw the terror in her eyes. It reminded me of Wookiee when Agent Hansen made him dance. Dr. Abbas was being controlled by a mover. I looked around in frantic dread, trying to locate the perpetrator. This had to be a very powerful one to have such a wide radius. There were no helicopters overhead, and after we lost Detective Cho, no cars were behind us. There was a vehicle quite a distance ahead of us though. Could it be them? Who were they? All I knew was, this wasn't right. I tore through my bag and pulled out my phone. Detective Cho. A mover is controlling Dr. Abbas. I had a feeling. I have her car's GPS location, but I fear it might be too late by the time I catch up. Too late for what? I believe one of the other organizations is after you. After me? I said in alarm, I see fear spreading beneath my skin. How do they know where I am? It appears we have a spy. It could very well be Abbas, shifting suspicion off herself by agreeing to have them control her. But she's terrified. She could also be a great actress. What should I do? I looked at the road signs in distress as they whizzed by. She's going too fast for me to jump out. Try to get her to slow down enough so you can escape. With frantic determination, I grabbed Dr. Abbas' wrist and yanked down, hoping to get her to swerve. Instead, she hit the brakes with a grinding squeal, and I gasped as I whipped forward against my seat belt. With no time to waste, I let go of her as I unbuckled myself and flung open the door. I'd barely set one foot outside before the car zoomed away again, and I screamed as I tumbled down a ditch. After catching my breath, I ignored my scrapes and bruises as I found my phone and pressed it to my ear. Hello? Linda. Are you all right? Detective Cho asked. Yes, I whispered, my voice shaking as I flattened myself amidst the overgrown weeds. They made her hit the brakes when I made her swerve, and I managed to jump out before they made her drive off again. I don't think they realized I jumped. Good. Find a place to hide. Keep your phone on you. We'll contact you when it's safe. How is what happened legal? It's not legal. But neither is kidnapping and trafficking, and the ungifted do it all the time. Find a place to hide. I'll call you later. He hung up, and I looked around, trying to calm my rabid heart. There were many construction sites in the area. One could provide shelter. Taking a deep breath to steady my nerves, I got up and dashed to the nearest one, shooting jittery glances over my shoulder as I ducked beneath barriers and jumped over tools. An unfinished staircase led to a basement level and I hurried down, but once I found a corner to hide in, I realized I had no service. With a nervous gulp, I tiptoed back upstairs, scanning the area with a wary gaze before I climbed a perilous ladder to the upper floors. One room seemed shielded enough, and I crept into a corner and sat down, my phone gripped tight in my hand. Despite finding a hiding place, my pulse continued to race as my thoughts began to churn. Was Dr. Abbas really a spy? Had she done this to get rid of me as competition for Kadyr's attention? Was her jealousy that virulent? But she didn't know that we were going to find Bren and that I was going to join the retrieval party. How quickly would they have had to plan this? Could it be Agent Finch? He did have a pattern of toxic behavior. But handing me over to an organization that experimented on the gifted could make me stronger, not weaker. That was the opposite of what he wanted. And he too didn't know I was going to join a retrieval party today. Could it be someone else? I jumped at a distant crack and cowered against the wall, trembling as I kept my eyes and ears on full alert. After a few seconds of silence, I sat up, still tense. Whoever the spy was, the damage was done. The people controlling Dr. Abbas were probably searching the entire area now after she drove to them alone. All I could do was lay low and hope Scope sends backup for Detective Cho to capture them. I hated waiting indefinitely. Every shadow and sound was going to toy with my nerves and spur my unpleasant imagination. The sun was setting too, and although the night would provided better cover, chills crept down my spine at the thought of being alone and vulnerable in a dark, secluded construction zone. With a fretful breath, I leaned against the wall and hugged my legs, praying Kovscope would call soon and let me know it was safe to come out.